Taped interview 39. Patient's name is Edward Nigma.
Batman has some of the best villains in comic book history. He also has some of the worst. Today we make fun of them. These are the 10 worst Batman villains. Number 10 is Signal Man. Phil Cobb was a criminal who thought he needed a gimmick to be taken seriously, so he used the bat signal as inspiration. Like the Riddler, he gave Batman clues to his crimes before he committed them. Unfortunately, signals don't have quite the same effect as riddles, especially when his costume looks like a kid drew all over it.
Meanwhile, behind the doors of an apparently legitimate import firm...
Excellent. I might even go so far as to say exquisite.
Well, what you got in mind, boss? This thing just looks like some old piece of paper to me.
That's because you have no foresight, Benedict.
Well, not everybody's as smart as you are, Egghead.
Not anybody is as smart as I am, Fu Young.
Please, don't talk so fast.
What's she following us around for all the time? I don't like dames on capers.
Fortunately, not everyone thinks like that, Mr. Benedict. Hi, Eggy baby.
Please, it's Mr. Egghead before other people, not Eggy baby. My executive secretary, Miss Bacon, is taking down my every thought.
Number 9 is Egghead. Created for the Adam West TV show back in the 60s, Egghead wore a white and yellow costume, his crimes revolved around eggs, and he spoke in egg-related puns. This guy could match wits with Mr. Freeze.
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
Excellent.
Stay cool, bird boy.
Exquisite.
Let's kick some ice.
Egghead wins.
I knew you'd catch up to me sooner or later. How I've relished this meeting. You, the dynamic Dark Knight, versus me, the conceptual Condiment King. Come, Batman. Let's see if you can cut the mustard. Quiet.
Created as a joke villain for Batman the Animated Series, the Condiment King's real name is Mitchell Mayo. He was actually a brainwashed victim of the Joker in one episode and wasn't really a villain until they brought him back in the comics. In fact, the worst thing he ever did was use a condiment that could cause anaphylactic shock. Charlie Brown was interested in kites from a young age, and he decided to use them in... Wait a minute, Charlie Brown wasn't a Batman villain. Actually, he was. Charles Chuck Brown had a strange fascination with kites, and he used a rocket-propelled kite glider. In one story, Kite Man crashed into a tree and yelled, "Rats!" He was later killed off and never mentioned again. Abner Krill wore a costume covered in multicolored dots that became various weapons and gadgets when he removed them from his costume. Number 6 is the Polka Dot Man, also known as Mr. Polka Dot, also known as what you see while on LSD. I'm not really sure which is worse, the guy's gimmick or what Batman says when he beats him. Right on the dot. By now you should be seeing spots before your eyes, Mr. Polka Dot. Really? Philip Reardon was blinded by an explosion, and his retinas were reconnected to his fingertips in an operation, and he became the Ten-Eyed Man. Okay, I'll admit, the idea of having 10 eyes sounds good on paper, but not when they're connected to your fingers. Just imagine having to walk around like this. Or if you wanted to get into a fist fight, you'd be blind every time you threw a punch. Or put your hands in your pockets. Or opened a door. Or held on to something. And just forget about wearing gloves. Lenny Fiasco made a lot of mistakes on his college papers, and he used erasers to fix them. An even bigger mistake he made was becoming a Batman villain. The eraser wears the costume of a number 2 pencil, and uses the helmet on his head to erase evidence from crime scenes. And the police fall for it every time. Can you imagine a guy walking into a crime scene and rubbing his head against everything to get rid of the evidence? Believe me, it's a strange image. To most people, Calendar Man is the poster boy for bad Batman villains. His name, Julian Gregory Day, is 3 different calendar puns. His gimmick is committing crimes based on dates and holidays, and his costume is covered with calendar pages. That's just stupid. In recent years, he's been retooled as more of a darker villain and less of a joke. He's set to make a gritty appearance in Batman Arkham City later this year.
A good likeness, don't you think? Without sight, I'm forced to be a little more creative with my art.
Coward! Open the door and face me!
I wasn't up all night cutting out paper fists just to have a boxing match with you, boy. I have something much bigger in mind. In the meantime, my kaleidoscope will generate enough centrifugal force to flatten you into two-dimensional masterpieces that will hang in my private collection.
Crazy Quilt was blinded by a gunshot wound, and after surgery, he could see again, but only in bright, dizzying colors. He has a helmet that lets him control his victims through the use of bright, flashy... Okay, you know what? I'll just say it. This guy has the worst name ever. It doesn't even make sense. His gimmick is bright lights and colors, not blankets. And what is he wearing? He makes the polka dot man look subtle. And if this guy wasn't embarrassing already, his first losses were to a group of kids called the Boy Commandos. Number 1 is the Penny Plunderer. Joe Coyne, yeah, I know, right, sold newspapers for a penny apiece, but then he started to keep some of the pennies for himself. You know, those worthless coins you find on the sidewalk? You might remember the giant penny that's in the Batcave. Batman originally got it from beating the Penny Plunderer. His plans involved stealing pennies and using other penny-based gimmicks. Some years ago, Coin was written out of the Batman universe, and the story behind the giant penny was rewritten so that it was Two-Face who was trying to kill Batman with it. The Penny Plunderer was such a stupid and outdated villain that he got written out of continuity entirely. Think about that. I'm Scotty Too Hottie, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Well, I have great expectations for our relationship, Chief. I tell you what I'll give you as an added bonus. You may have the import eggs for